in the heart of rural Devon, where the lanes twist like old secrets and the fields stretch endlessly under skies that shift from pewter to gold, there stands the junction of Boracot Private Road and the High Road. A lonely crossroads marked by the gnarled stump of an ancient oak. Known as the Crooked Oak, it was once a towering giant, its branches sprawling like the arms of a weathered sentinel, its bark scarred by time and the initials of countless lovers. For generations, it had been a gathering place, a landmark where fox hunters in their scarlet coats would meet on crisp autumn mornings, their laughter and the baying of hounds echoing through the countryside. But the Crooked Oak held darker memories, ones that lingered long after its boughs ceased to rustle in the wind. The tale began in the autumn of 1887, or so the parish records claim, when a young man named Samuel Trelawney met a tragic end beneath the oak's heavy limbs. Samuel was no stranger to the hunt. A farrier by trade and a horseman by passion, he'd joined the Boracot hunt that morning with dreams of glory, his mare prancing eagerly beneath him. The day was blustery, leaves spiraling in the wind, and the Crooked Oak groaned under the strain of a fierce gale. As the riders assembled, a sudden crack split the aira branch, rotten at its core, tore free and plummeted to the earth. Samuel had no time to react. The limb struck him square, knocking him from his saddle with a sickening thud. He was dead before the dust settled, his blood seeping into the roots of the ancient tree as the other hunters looked on in horror. They buried him in the churchyard at nearby Hinton, but the stain of that day never truly left the Crooked Oak. By the early 1900s, the tree had begun to decay, its once mighty form reduced to a hollowed husk, though it still stood as a marker for the junction. The hunts moved elsewhere, their revelry replaced by an uneasy silence, and whispers began to spread among the local staleys of sounds that haunted the crossroads after dark. On windy nights, they said, you could hear the ghostly echo of a branch snapping, followed by a man's startled cry and the dull thump of a body hitting the ground. Some swore they heard the faint whinny of a horse or the distant bark of hounds, as if the hunt itself were trapped in an endless loop at the Crooked Oak. In 1924, a farmer named Thomas Drayton claimed the first clear encounter while driving his cart home from market along the High Road. The moon hung low, casting jagged shadows across the lane, when his horse stopped dead, ears pricked and nostrils flaring. Thomas heard it then, a sharp crack overhead, as if the sky itself had split. Instinctively, he ducked, his heart hammering as the sound of a falling branch seemed to rush past him, though nothing struck the ground. A man's cry, brief, raw, and full of terror followed, and then the unmistakable thump of a fallen body. Thomas's torch revealed nothing but the Crooked Oak's twisted remains, its bark glistening with dew. He never took that route at night again, and his tale became a fixture at the local pub, told with a shudder to anyone who'd listen. The phenomenon persisted across the decades, undeterred by the march of time or the felling of the oak's upper limbs after a storm in 1952 left it little more than a jagged stump. In 1978, a pair of teenagers cycling home from a dance in Hinton swore they experienced the haunting firsthand. Jenny and Mark, emboldened by youth and a shared flask of cider, had laughed off the old stories until they reached the junction just past midnight. The air turned cold, the wind picking up with a mournful howl. Then came the crack, so loud Jenny dropped her bike in fright. Mark grabbed her arm as the ghostly sequence unfolded, the unseen branch falling, a man's cry piercing the night, and the heavy thud that seemed to shake the ground beneath their feet. They fled, leaving Jenny's bike behind until dawn. when they returned to find it untouched, lying beside the crooked oak stump, as if nothing had happened. Even into the 1990s, as cars replaced carts and the high roads saw more traffic, the stories endured. Motorists reported sudden chills at the junction, or the inexplicable urge to swerve, as if something had fallen in their path. A lorry driver, in 1995, pulled over to the side of the Boracot private road after hearing what he thought was timber crashing down ahead, only to find the lane clear and the stump of the crooked oak looming silently in his headlights. Each retelling added weight to the legend. The accident, it seemed, was doomed to replay itself for eternity, a spectral imprint on the crossroads. Today, little remains of the crooked oak, just a splintered base, half swallowed by moss and nettles, standing as a quiet monument to Samuel Trelawney's fate. The hunts are long gone, the scarlet coats and baying hounds mere memories, but the junction of Boracot Private Road and the High Road still carries an unspoken weight. Locals advise newcomers to hurry past after dusk, lest they hear the crack of a ghostly branch or the cry of a man long dead. For at the crooked oak, the past does not rest. It falls, again and again, into the stillness of the Devon night. Many thanks for treading this tale's dark path. If its chill gripped you, follow, subscribe, and comment below.